I am Mudita, and welcome back to Satisfactory, Update 1.2. In this save, I'm using a few of the new game modes that have just been added. I need 100 times the space elevator parts to complete each phase. Each machine takes 5 times the normal power, and all my resource nodes are random, and so is their purity. In the last video, I automated circuit boards and computers here in the northwest corner of the desert. Just south of there, I built more towers for Heavy Modular Frames. These are all going towards today's project, Adaptive Control Units. Before I can bring it all together, I need one last part. To make 5 ACUs, I need 25 automated wiring per minute. Which brings me to the middle of the rocky desert. To make 25 automated wiring per minute, it's just a whole lot of cable and a few stators. The iron pipe recipe is actually ever so slightly better on power as opposed to making them with the steel ingots, which is great because now I don't need coal. I'm going to be taking advantage of some of the Caterium nodes nearby and using it to make the quick wire for the quick wire stators. And then one of my favorite recipes for this save is the Caterium wire. You can make so much wire per machine with that recipe, it's great for this. Let me get some foundations placed, and I'll go over the layout. I may have placed a few more foundations than I need, but this isn't the only thing we're building on this platform. With the colors and labels, this is going to be easy to put together. The iron ingots become iron pipes, and then above that become the quick wire stators. The next one is Caterium ingots that become quick wire, and then those will go to the right for the quick wire stators, which will then feed into the middle. And then our last row, we've got Caterium ingots that become Caterium wire and then become cable. And then the cable goes around and into the automated wiring. This is the only section that's a little bit tricky because I'm going to end up with 1000 wire and 500 cable. Those will be the only two things that don't fit all on one belt. I'm going to start with the smelters and the farthest tower first. So that is the one that needs 375 Caterium ingots. Oh, I misspoke. It's 125 ingots, which needs 375 ore. I can do this with 3 blueprints, which would be 54 machines. Default rate of 15. 15%. Terrific. Just need to line it up with my painted foundations. And then 2 more. Now I can delete these 2 and this one. Now let's deal with the other Caterium ingot tower. This one has 112.5 incoming. So to work with the incoming amount, we can do 112.5 divided by 18 machines. Only need 1 blueprint. And then the default rate would be 45 times 100, 13%. Oh, that's awesome. And just the one. And I can delete this sign now. Last up, 200 iron ingots. To make that many, I only need 2 blueprints, so that's 36 machines. Okay. 1 and 2. So far so good. Delete that one and that one. And now I just need to come through and 1 splitter here. 1 splitter there. That's easy enough. All done. Let's move on to the next row. First up, Caterium wire. This is where it's gonna get fun. I need 1000 wire. Lucky for me, I only need 3 blueprints to do it, so that's 36 machines. Default rate of 120 times 100. I could have done 4 blueprints and that would have brought me under the 20%. But in a minute, you'll see why I picked 3. Make sure it's lined up with the painted foundations. 1, 2, and 3. Now I just need 3 belts, 1 going from each of the smelter blueprints to one of the constructors. They're slightly off, so we'll just put it in straight mode. And that part's done. And that part is really convenient. It's actually not the main reason I picked 3 blueprints. But let's finish this row and then I'll show you. Next up, making 187.5 quick wire. 187.5. I'm going to use 2 blueprints, so 24 machines. Default rate of 60. Very underclocked. But if I only placed 1, then it was 26, and, well, 2 is easy enough to place. Last one for this row is the iron pipes. Normally I would need exactly 2 machines to make the 50 steel pipes, but instead we'll just use 1 blueprint, which is 12. Default rate of 25. 16 2/3. That's great. And just the 1 blueprint. I've already done the belt work for the very last 2 towers. And now this one is going from 1 tower to 2, so that's just the 1 splitter. And then this one is going from 2 to 1, so that's just 1 merger. Nice and straightforward. Now let's get into the last row. First up and last of the constructors, I need cable. That 1000 wire is going to get turned into 500 cable. To do that, I need 6 blueprints, so 72 machines. It's close enough. Thankfully, constructors aren't nearly as expensive as a lot of the other machines I have now. All lined up. And there's number 6. Even though I could have placed more, let's be honest, I wouldn't have placed 7 blueprints. I would have placed 8 if I wanted to. And that would have brought me under that 20% target rate that I'm going for. And it would save me more power, but it wouldn't be a ton. And this setup right here is probably the easiest way I'm going to be able to do it. Because I'm dealing with 1000 wire, I need minimum 3 belts. And now I have 3 blueprints. So each one of these is just going to go into a splitter, which is going to feed 2 of the blueprints in this tower. Let's go ahead and get the other 2 towers placed first. Quick wire stator is up next. Stators to automated wiring is 1 for 1, so I need 25 of these. 3 blueprints is 18 machines. Each machine outputs 8 normally. Fantastic. Lock it, nudge it into place, and then only 3. Only 18 assemblers for this step. I do need a few more for our very final one, though. Let's go with some good old black and red for the final one. 25 automated wiring would normally take 10 assemblers because each machine only outputs 2.5. I'm going to be using 9 of my blueprints. At 6 apiece, that's 54. At default rate of 2.5, multiplied by 100. Fantastic. Even though I'm placing 9, to load balance 9, that's only 2 splitters, so I don't think I need more than the 2 foundations of a gap that I've given myself. I'm bad at counting. I placed 1 too many. There we go. Only 9. Nice. I like when there's a bunch of different height variations. Alright, as far as the belt work goes, some of it's going to be trickier than the others. For the stators, I just need 1 splitter for each one of these. Let's go the other way. There we go. So the pipes will just plug into there. And then I just need 2 platforms here, and we'll load balance it across the 3. For the quick wire, it all fits on 1 belt, so I just need 1 merger. Let's get that nice and close there. Making 187, so I do need a Mark III for both of these. And then to make just a quick stubby lift, we can place a merger there, 2 meters above the ground. Spin this around. Make sure it's Mark III. And then there we go. To acquire stators will be easy, and because we're making so few, just group them all up here. They're going to come out here, and then go into the automated wiring. And for the two different inputs, because they're coming in from the two different sides, that part is convenient at least. So the stators will get load balanced across all of these. The cable, on the other hand, is going to be a little bit different. Between these three blueprints, I'm making 1000 wire, which means each one is outputting 333 1/3. I'm going to need a Mark 4 belt here. And then I can do Mark 3 into there. One splitter. Mark 3 over here. Now I just need to do that 2 more times for the rest of these. And now to deal with the other side. The 6 blueprints of constructors is outputting 500 cable, which doesn't all fit on one belt. And then I have 9 blueprints for the assemblers. Our common denominator here is 3. Every 3 of these blueprints is going to be fed by 2 of these, which is going to make things a little bit more interesting up here at the top. Because these top 2, instead of dropping the belt all the way down to the ground, and then having 3 belts run over here and then bring them all the way up, we're just going to get creative and run them alongside. And these 2 are going to feed these 3. It's close to being in the right spot. I've just got to get that there to up here. Well, actually, I need one more splitter. There we go. That's where it's going to plug in. And that'll feed the top 3. I probably just made that sound more complicated than it is, so let me just show you. Now all the towers, lifts, and belts are in. So to start off, like I said, it was pretty easy. Just the 1 tower of wire going into 2 towers of cable. And because it's not too extreme, the very top wire didn't have to go too far up before it hit its splitter. Alright, and then on the other side, we brought it over, just like I was showing. And then we go out and around to pass my ladder, even though I'm using Fly and don't need it. It felt weird just to cut off the ladder. But now it comes all the way out here and then goes up to the next floor, which is where it needed to go. The middle belt was pretty similar. It just snakes out and around, and it really wasn't all that bad. If I didn't pick convenient numbers of blueprints to work with, it could have gotten way more complicated. For example, the constructors making the cables aren't underclocked down to 20% like I would like, but if I had placed 8 of those blueprints, I can't group it all onto one belt, and then it would have been awkward going from the 8 blueprints to the 9. Probably would have just needed a belt balancer. Not the end of the world, but by doing a little bit of planning ahead and making sure I pick convenient numbers, things work out a bit smoother. To get everything up and running, I'm just going to throw it all up into a sync, that way I can make sure this section of the factory is fine. I've already checked on the rest of the parts that I need. Circuit boards and computers are working great, and so are these towers making the heavy modular frames. The plan is to get these up and running, and while I'm building the very last part to put everything together, I can make sure that there's no issues here. 2 last major parts before I can turn it on. I need to bring power over here, but I built this right next to the road, so the power is here. And then I need to grab some ore. I need 375 and 112.5. So of course, this needs just 7.5 more per minute than what I can get out of a pure node. Taking a look at my unclaimed Caterium nodes available. This was the main reason I built it right here in the middle, is, well, it would be close to the other factories I was building. And I've got a pure Caterium node down here. That takes care of the big chunk. I still need the 112.5, which I could get from a normal or an impure. There is a normal up here, and there's a normal iron, so I might as well just group those together, and then I'll belt those over. Let me knock out that busy work. I'll give you a quick overview of it, and then we'll get this thing started. Automated wiring is ready to turn on. Let me show you where everything's coming from. The pure node of Caterium that's putting out the 375 is just behind this power plant. It makes its way just right next to all of the generators. And into the factory. The other Caterium and the one iron node that I need are just behind my motor factory. The Caterium's coming from down below right next to the geothermals, and the iron node is right up here. Because it's not a short trip by any means, I figured this would be a good place to use a sushi belt. The 200 iron ore and 112.5 Caterium ore all fit on one Mark IV belt. Once they merge up, they just kind of make their way across right next to the motor factory. Once I got to the road, I decided to go underneath it. Just keeps it out of the way, and I don't have to worry about a train running into it in the future. Once we finally get to the factory, it just runs into a smart splitter, and then I split the iron to the right, and the Caterium heads straight into the middle tower. With the road conveniently right nearby, I was able to just place one power tower that brings the main power line over, and then I've got my priority power switch here. Surely I can add one more factory without dipping into battery power, right? One way to find out, let's flip the switch. Things are looking pretty good. I guess we'll bounce between 23 and probably 26 or 27. And this is going to have time to run for a while before I actually need it. That's 25 automated wiring automated. It's time to combine this, the circuit boards and computers coming from the far towers in the back there, and then the heavy modular frames to the left. Taking a quick look at the spreadsheet. For this final step, each manufacturer outputs 1 per minute. I'm making 5, so I only need 5 machines. Which is actually a convenient number if I wanted to overclock and sloop it. I could get away with only placing 2 machines, and then it would only cost me 8 summer sloops. And then instead of like 33 or 34 hours, it would be more like 16 or 17 until I'm done with the phase. Which sounds pretty nice. But if we take a look at the power, I do not have the wiggle room to do that. Doesn't look like I'm dipping into my battery power at all, which is nice. Alright, so we did dip into battery power for just a split second there. It looks like whether I decide to underclock or overclock, I'm gonna need a little bit more power. Now I could go make some more, or the one trick I have up my sleeve, the versatile framework is all done. It is nice building up some more for the next phase. But right now, getting some of that available power back was much more valuable than building up some more space elevator parts for the next phase. Getting that much power back might get me enough to be able to overclock and sloop them, but then I'm still not going to have any extra available power to do anything else. I don't want to just sit around and wait. Instead, we're going to go the long route. I'm just going to stick with my normal 5 per minute, and I'm going to underclock these. Which once I shut off the other factory, should leave me with a decent amount, okay, probably just a little bit, of extra power. And while we wait for everything to finish, I've got a couple projects planned. Let's set this recipe. I'm going to be making 5 per minute. Since I need 5 and I'm aiming for 20%, that means I'd be looking at 25, but that's not really a number I feel like dealing with. So we're going to go with 24 just because that's a lot easier and it's close enough. Divided by, well, 1. multiply by 100, 20.83 repeating. Let's get this out of the way. Go with 3 foundations as a gap since I've got the 4 inputs. 24 machines means 6 blueprints, so I could just do another singular tower. Or I could do 2 towers of 3. Even when placing manufacturers, it's the iron plates that can't keep up. "24 manufacturers, just like that." I guess it makes sense. Each one of these blueprints has a lot of Mark 1 belts and lifts. Can't wait to upgrade that production. I think I can show you pretty quickly how we load balance this. Since I've got a stack of 3 blueprints, I only need 1 stack of splitters. And the inputs for everything are so low, I could just use Mark 1 belts for everything. Now I'm just going to need 1 layer of foundations for each blueprint. Starting from the bottom, I always find this just easy just to find just the right spot. That's gonna be the first one, and then I need 3 more. And then basically a mirrored setup on the other side. And then only one side is gonna go all the way to the top, so I'm gonna make it the outside one. There we go. And now just a whole bunch of lifts. Now they're all at the right height. Builds for the bottom 3 on each side. Preferably in a straight line. There we go. Okay, so now we move up to the second floor. And the ones on the right are going all the way to the top. And now these ones, really you can only go in one direction. Unless you're okay with a lot of clipping. And now we go to the top floor. Same thing. That's 12 of them load balanced. Just gonna need to move that splitter so I can actually do this part. But then I'm just gonna need 1 last stack of splitters in the very middle. And that's gonna feed the 2 sides. Here is where the 4 different inputs are gonna get plugged in. And hey look, one of them is right here. I've got the other half of the belt work to do. And then I need to collect the computers, circuit boards, and heavy modular frames. I really did think about setting up a road, and because the amounts are so little, I could just use carts for it. I don't even need to bring fuel out here for this. I feel like I say this in every single video now. The plan is for this to all be temporary. So instead of doing the road that is hopefully only going to last till the end of this phase, I'm just going to belt it over. That was pretty painless. The 2 towers are going to get grouped up here at the bottom and get sent right into a truck station. At only 5 per minute, I've got plenty enough time to figure out how to adjust my road and get them sent over to the space elevator. I was trying to make things easier on myself by belting it over instead of using the carts. This seemed like a perfect spot for a sushi belt. Over at the circuit board and computer factory, I deleted the sink, and let's see how much I built up. Well, the dimensional depot's completely full. And about 4,500 extra computers. That's not bad. Since there's nothing that I can build with my build gun that uses circuit boards, I don't feel the need to have a huge amount of storage, but topping off the dimensional depot seemed like a good idea. Instead of going to the sink, they're now being grouped up, and then going up and over the oil pipe. The decision to belt it was made easier by the fact that half of the foundations were already placed. These just follow the rubber over to the heavy modular frame factory. They make their way around the factory to the final tower, meet up with the heavy modular frames. Before we get over to the new factory, let's see, how much did we build up here? Filled up the dimensional depot, and Only 800. In hindsight, I should have built the Heavy Modular Frame factory first because I'm only making 5 of those, whereas I'm making 10 a minute of the computers. It wouldn't have made that big of a difference, and I still need to actually automate them. Now let's follow these across the desert. The first smart splitter is just to send them into the sink until I'm ready to get this thing started. The second smart splitter is the permanent one. Doesn't really matter which order you put them in, but I've got the computers on the left, circuit boards going straight, heavy modular frames on the right. Now once they're separated, then they go into the stack of splitters and get split between the 2 towers. To get this started, I need to delete the smart splitter and the sink and replace that belt with a lift and a belt going to the top splitter here. I added a second priority power switch because it just seemed like a good idea. So I'm at 82, 83 out of the 83. Now, let's come over here and turn off Versatile Framework. Well, that bought a few thousand megawatts. Terrific. Let's go ahead and turn this one on. Now we've got yellow lights, and I can send everything in. Let's go ahead and start with these, and let's start the stopwatch. We're looking good. I'm seeing green lights across the board. Now that I have them automated, I just need to get them sent to the elevator. With the truck station this close to the road, I don't think it should be too bad. There is currently only one truck driving all the way out here. Should rename some of these. I think it's that one. I think by deleting this, it may stop him in his tracks. But I've got a ton of motors over there, so it's got quite a bit of buffer time. I'm just going to swap that blueprint out for the T-junction. Just need to manually reconnect this side. And now, let's see. He should still be moving. Well, he's moving. I think we'll add a straight section here. Alright, so we are pretty close. I think what I'll do is just nudge this one forward so that the foundations line up. And then I'm just going to delete this very top one. I'll just fill in the gap with one of the short blueprints. All of this being green tells me I think I've stacked a whole bunch of paths over each other. It's alright, we can just skip all of that, bring it up to here. I really like these blueprints. It was really easy just to swap out one of the straight pieces for the T intersection and then just add this. And in just a couple minutes, I've got another truck station added onto the logistic network. This truck station is missing one key part though, and that would be fuel. So what I'm going to do is head back over to the grassy fields and I'm going to set up the truck route on that side. Now I could build it out here and just throw one stack of fuel in there and it would get it going just fine. But I also need to set up the belt work so I can actually get it over to the space elevator from the truck station. Time to get some more use out of my truck train station. We come in through the entrance of the truck part. We're going to skip the first one because that one's already being used for the motors. We're going to come to this one. Bean. I don't know how you end up in some of these spots. This is going to be ACU in. We go upstairs, just cheat and go through the floor. That is going to come up through here and then go out through the wall. Just like the motors, it just pops out and then down through the floor. And then we're outside. It's going to follow the rubber and the motors, but once we get to the right spot, just hang a left, head off to the elevator. And then the belt just goes up and over the road so I don't interrupt the existing carts. Everything is prepped. Let's go get that truck started. So if I place this right here, what is going to happen to Bean? Alright, so let's go ahead and drop off a full stack here. We've got our adaptive control unit load. That works. And then back here to ACU in. I don't think these numbers are exactly right, but hey, it looks good to me. Go for a ride. I think I just teleported through a whole bunch of that. Thanks, Bean? He is magical. I guess we're just going to phase right through them. Really would have helped if I set this to unload first. Rookie mistake. Just a minor little hiccup, but it's back on trip number 2. Well, drop off number 1. But at only 5 a minute, it had a lot of extra cargo space. I could have even gotten away with using a tractor for this, but tractors go a little bit slower and I didn't want the motor truck to have to slow down, although it would have been fine even if it did. The first adaptive control units are finally at the space elevator. And now I can rely on a steady 5 per minute. They'll come in bursts since they're getting dropped off by truck, but the countdown has finally begun. Watching my trucks navigate these corner blueprints back and forth has definitely made me want to change things up. And if you saw my recent video going over the blueprints for my roads, you'll know that I came up with a new blueprint that should solve this, or at least smooth things out by quite a bit. And I was really tempted to clean these things up first, but I really just want to get the space elevator part going. I think there's going to be a lot of tearing things down and rebuilding things a little bit better in the next phase. That is going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for being here. The end of phase 3 is finally in sight. Assuming there are no issues and my factories continue to run at 100%, I should have all the space elevator parts delivered in about 33 hours. I know that sounds like a long time, but I'm not sure I'm even going to be able to finish the projects I have planned by then. I've been talking about wanting to increase my production and amount of dimensional depots on some of the basic items for a while now. So I think it's about time I finally start cleaning up my starter factories and replacing them with some better looking permanent ones. First up, concrete and basic iron parts. Look forward to that, and thanks for watching.